Hello everyone and welcome back to the Drive Guide, and today I've got my good friend Joe with me. Joe, it's wonderful to see you. And I've brought you along because you are one of the very few people who I want to talk to about cars. I wanted to bring you along to get your opinion of this Lincoln Continental. And we've only really spent 5 minutes walking around and driving and so on. What are your initial impressions?
It's incredibly understated.
Understated. Okay.
Yeah, a bit disappointingly so. I still feel like I'm in a Ford, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
And I was hoping I wouldn't feel that way.
So when you say you feel like you're in a Ford, you're talking about like the interior materials?
The materials are fine, but I took a second to sit down in the back seat there.
Yeah.
And when I opened the little ashtray thing, like the bottom of it was loose right away. Like it was like it wanted to fall out. And I just feel like for what Lincoln is trying to do with this car, that just little things like that shouldn't happen.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit disappointed already.
Well, I know that this car here is really sort of Lincoln's attempt to come back to form, because unlike many Lincolns that are currently available, this isn't just a reskinned Escape or an Edge or something. This is its own unique platform with its own unique engine that leads to, you know, everything that makes the Continental its own individual thing. And seeing as this is their attempt to get back into the game, I absolutely agree with you, is that there are things that are very reminiscent of Ford products, like these leatherettes you see. You can absolutely see in the majority of Ford products. But I don't think it's awful.
No, it's certainly not. Absolutely.
Before we started filming, you said you weren't so keen on the design, you just didn't find it all that striking?
I think from the front, I really like the front grille. I appreciate the front of it. And when I saw the press photos for it when it was first announced, I was really impressed. I thought it looked great.
Okay.
But then from the back, it's, you know, it may as well be the Civic that's in front of us. It's
not enough.
No, it's not enough. And, you know, people say that about, like, Audis, for example, is that they're kind of unexciting, but they always still seem inspired to me. You can look at the back end of an A8, which looks quite rectangular and underwhelming almost, but it's still, like, handsome and elegant. And this is just kind of dreary.
So you're looking for something a little more adventurous in a design?
Just handsome, you know?
What I like especially is how the door handles are built into the belt line. And with that, when you look in the rear view mirror here, you can see how the door handles are above that rear haunch and the car sort of disappears after that.
Yeah.
I like that design. But I've always kind of liked the look of this car. Since the concept came out, I was always interested in this car.
I was absolutely interested, and I still am interested in it. I hope that this will take Lincoln back to
full form.
Yeah, its reputation of half a century ago, but
yeah,
you know.
What would you say on its handling and comfort? What do you think?
Sublime, really.
Sublime, yeah.
It's extremely quiet in here. Very comfortable. These seats are actually great.
Well, these are sort of the big talking point with this car, is that these seats are 30-way adjustable.
Yeah, when we were getting going here, I was having trouble trying to even get comfortable in them. But now that I spent 2 hours actually getting settled in here, yeah, it's quite comfortable.
You do have to take your time when you first get in this car to figure it all out.
Yeah.
But once you find that perfect position, you never touch these buttons again.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's nice is that these seats up here are heated, ventilated, and they have a massage function.
I just turned it on, and it's quite pleasant.
It's a nice feeling.
It is a nice feeling. Hey, do you have a tachometer on your screen there?
This digital display, you can change it around. So right now this is the speedometer setting, but I can go to gauges and then go for tacking gauges, and then it all changes around. But I much prefer the other one because it's just so minimalistic that it allows you to focus on the road and not so much the screen.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I appreciate that it doesn't have a tack.
Okay.
That's what I want this car to be. I have beef with these executive cars that still try to focus on performance.
Right.
You do one or the other, right?
Would you say this car competes against the like of a 5 Series and S6? Like, what do you think is the main competitor for this car?
Yeah, I suppose it would be that segment, hey? I don't know, I haven't spent a lot of time in the back seat. Can you get a rear seat package for this car? You know, the ones where the front seat comes down?
Yeah, so we'll go into depth with that in a second. I'm going to get off the highway here so we can break down the back seat. I think this car was always built to be a luxury cruiser. We're going to pull over here in a minute so we can have a good look at the back seats. But from everything in the front, you say you're happy with it, but you're not overwhelmed with it.
I would say that is a very appropriate description for how I feel.
So with the magic of movie editing, you are now in the back seat. And immediately you said you hate the seatbelt.
What a terrible, terrible thing is this?
That seatbelt is built with an airbag inside of it. So if we get in a crash, it'll explode around you and keep you in your seat. That's optional extra, but seeing as we don't have that available up here at the front at all, it goes to show who's more important.
I suppose so, yeah.
As we were saying earlier, this car comes with the rear seat package, so it's a $5,000 extra, but back there you get the ventilated, heated and massaging seats, and then you get a few other things to play around with, and you've got that sort of central command unit in between you there, and that is what will allow you to customize all of your temperature. If I was listening to music up here and you didn't want to listen to it, that can be changed around. But then the fun thing from where you're sitting is that you can control this seat up here and get it out your way if you want more legroom. And then with that other button you have there, I don't know what position your seat's in, but it can lay back a little bit.
Oh, I've made sure it's as far back as it can
go
already, yeah.
So how do you feel back there?
When my head is cradled in this thing, my head's touching the roof.
Okay.
Which is not great. I mean, I'm not that tall. I'm 6'2". That's not good.
So it's not enough headroom for you?
Well, no, because I'd have to slouch down if I don't want to ruin my perfectly coiffed hair.
What would you think of that control panel you've got there?
Futuristically, I guess, it's nice. I've been in cars with other kind of central consoles like this, and they do have dual zone control.
Right.
But, you know, I guess if Lincoln's trying to undercut that, maybe this is okay to just have a single zone back here. Looks disappointing. This central unit just looks like they took this out of a Focus and we're like, yeah, let's just set that in the center console here.
The thing that really will let people down with any sort of American product is the build quality of things, right? And I think this does a very good job at refinement, but it isn't the last word in quality. Like 95% of the buttons we have, I really like the feel of them, but then there's a few that aren't so great.
Yeah, no, I remember taking a look in a couple newer Mazda products.
Yeah.
And we both agreed that the quality in there was unbelievable for the price you pay for it.
Right.
And this feels worse. You play with these temperature controls back here, and they're wobbly. They don't quite sit right in there. Maybe I'm trying to compare it with cars that cost, double or triple the price of this one.
Okay.
And maybe you just have to understand that that's not what you're going to get.
Well, saying that, what do you think this car costs? What do you think its retail value is?
I don't know, maybe high 60s if I had to guess.
Okay. So
what is it?
So this car starts at 63,000.
Okay.
And the one we're in is just under 80. So
this is just under 80.
Yeah. So this car comes with practically everything, like that rear seat package, the technology package, the fancy audio system. So it's got everything built in, but you have to pay for it, obviously. And that's why I look at this car as a budget alternative to something like a luxury limousine. Is this the kind of car you'd want to be chauffeured around in?
No.
No? What would you want as as your primary vehicle then?
I mean, probably any one of the big three German like executive saloons, right?
Okay.
7 Series S-Class or an A8. Like I think that's the pinnacle of executive motoring right there. So like it seems like what they're trying to do is make is this a full-size sedan? Is that what they classify this as?
Yeah, they would, yeah.
It just seems like they're a little bit competing with the 5 Series, but also trying to squeeze in some 7 Series material.
It competes in the same price bracket as a 5 Series, but
Yeah,
as I said earlier, to me it's more of a budget 7. What do you think needs to happen for this car to be as good as a 7 Series or an A8 or an S-Class? What do you think needs to change?
I don't know. That's a really good question. To me, it seems like they need to make it more expensive.
Okay.
As silly as that could sound. But I think if they really want to rival that segment, it needs to be better back here.
Okay.
If you sit in the back of like an A8 with, you know, that full package back there, it's much more refined.
So maybe in a way of summing it up, if this was a $100,000 car, but every surface was wrapped in the top grade leather, that would be a little bit more desirable for you?
Then I would like this car for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a problem that Lincoln's going to have with this car is that people still aren't going to cross shop a 5 Series with this car.
Right.
I genuinely can't see that happening. They're going to have a problem appealing to that kind of up and coming, you know, 30 to 40-year-old segment of people that want a nice big car, and I don't think this is going to win that battle.
Well, you know, the next thing that's coming from Lincoln is the new Navigator, and that's you know, built on the Expedition platform.
I see that car fits a segment to me. The ultra luxury SUV.
That does it for you.
Ultra luxury. It's not going to compete with a Bentley or, you know, whatever Rolls-Royce's latest offering is going to be. But people do buy. Well, think of people who buy the Denali trucks or you know, the big Tahoes, whatever. There's you see a lot of those driving around, and the new Navigator will be, I'm sure, incredibly successful. Sitting in the back of here and just taking a look, I really don't feel like I'm in an $80,000 car.
Okay.
Except these speaker grills, because that just looks like an S-Class.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure someone just took a picture of that and they were like, hey, these look pretty nice.
If you had to sum everything up, of everything we said in 2 sentences, what would you say?
You know, it's like telling your son like some encouraging words after he's lost his first softball game. It's like, good effort, but you still lost. So I don't know. It's not a bad car. It's just not a good car.
Okay. So
if I had to sum it up, that's what I would say.
If you were to give it a 5 out of 5-star rating, it would be a 3, a 3.5.
It would be a very good 3.
So Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me along, Max.
I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
I'm sure I will.